What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news and updates. And while we have had a lot of information about the final shape, a new trailer recently, and of course all the updates to existing content in the game, today we get a whole bunch more detail about new quests in the final shape, but also the story component and some additional content, missions, even the story finale that'll be dropping after the first week of final shape. So we get info about that and how it leads into Echoes, the first of the episodes for Destiny 2. So there's some pretty good stuff there, but also teasers for a new character, and we get a better look at a brand new exotic weapon coming in the final shape as well. So we do have some juicy things on that front, as well as some updates regarding content this week. So as always guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today and find it useful. If you do, a rating below really does help us out on the channel. But without further delay, let's get into it. And so first up today, we've got some updates about the game this week. And for folks signing on at the weekly reset yesterday, Bungie actually asked players to input their date of birth, and following that, there was a pop-up that suggested the game was changing our Bungie name. Turns out that was an error, so Bungie Help said there was a routing issue we had to address, which resulted in players being routed to the wrong environment. But it should all be fixed now, and we're looking at processes to ensure this doesn't happen in the future. So it was simply an error, nothing has been changed as far as we know, and it's essentially a non-issue. Otherwise though, we did get the patch yesterday that changed some of the Onslaught drops, which essentially guarantees a weapon drop within a 50-wave run, and an additional bonus weapon drop upon completion. So hopefully we'll have just a little bit more luck getting those shiny weapons now. However, there was an issue in Onslaught shortly after the patch yesterday, where the portal to the boss room on wave 50 actually wasn't spawning, so players were going all the way to wave 50 and then were unable to complete it, which is pretty frustrating, but Bungie were able to fix that issue server-side, so full wave 50 runs should now be a completable thing, which is certainly positive. Otherwise, of course, we got the first quest for Where is Archie? I did make a full guide on this, but this week's one was in the tower, and you can start it in the annex near Ada 1. But if you want a full guide on it, I'll link the video down below. Some players have been asking in my comments section about the ramen coupon, and basically it has no use, it's just a curious item, I guess. So you can either keep it for nostalgia purposes if you like, or just get rid of it. It's not going to make any difference as far as we know. Up next though, let's talk about the final shape. Of course, we already got a juicy trailer for the expansion a couple of days ago, but following a lot of conversation about the raid release date for final shape, which will be June 7th, the same week that the expansion actually drops, Bungie have chimed in to offer some clarification as to why things are being timed this way, and some content that will be unlocking after the first few days of the final shape. So Katarina from Bungie, one of the developers, did say, "We want to talk about why the final shape's raid is going live shortly after release on June 7th. We know this is a tight turnaround and wanted to share some context on why we made the decision. And so back in August, we said that finishing the campaign would not be the grand finale of the Light and Darkness saga, but that we'd be facing off against the Witness in the raid. And for non-raiders, there'll be an opportunity for everyone to experience the conclusion sometime after the raid. But the final shape expansion is different. The additional content in the Pale Heart post-campaign and unlocking the raid for everyone is important for getting a cohesive and satisfying story experience. So we're looking at raiders to be the tip of the spear, and when raid day arrives, no matter if you choose to go in for contest mode or wait to do normal mode, in order to experience the story linearly as intended, you'll need to have the campaign completed and finish the quest wildcard. And she finally says that the first episode, Echoes, and the beginning of the next journey will start in week 2. So some really key bits of information there. Firstly, on day 1 of the final shape, we're not necessarily going to conclude the story, and Joe Blackburn sort of indicated this as well, with the initial campaign run kind of setting the stage for the finale itself. But inside of the raid, we'll be fighting the Witness, and when the first team gets a completion of that raid, essentially the finale for the campaign will actually unlock, as well as a bunch of new content for the Pale Heart itself. So again, in terms of being ready for that, even if you aren't jumping into the raid itself, finishing the campaign and then completing a quest called Wildcard will essentially get you up to date, and once the raid is completed by the first team, that will open up a finale, and it kind of indicates that we'll actually be able to go into the raid, not dissimilar to the preservation mission that we had back in Witch Queen, where there'll be a story conclusion that everyone can experience. So that in itself sounds pretty cool. And the other interesting component, of course, is that the Echoes story will begin on the second week after the final shape drops. So the episode essentially begins at the same time, although Katarina did confirm that we'll get progression on the artifact and season pass from day 1 of the final shape launch. So certain season components will begin immediately, but the new content and the story element for Echoes is going to drop the week after the final shape. So some really good confirmations to have there. there, and Bungie also confirmed that essentially the order of things will be complete the campaign for Final Shape, complete the wildcard quest, then the raid completion will happen, which is followed by the final mission for the expansion, and beyond that, Echoes will begin. So some good things to know there, and it's obviously informed Bungie's decision to time the raid drop when it is. For some extra context though, here are a few words from Joe Blackburn back at the Final Shape reveal that explain why things have been set up this way.
For this one, we say, hey, we want everyone to go really set up what's happening in the Final Shape. And then for everyone, right, and we're not going to get into that, right, you should all wait for the raid, right? Like, and we're going to like help make sure everyone is brought along for the end of this journey. I think it takes a lot of our learnings from both really classic experiences like Crota and Oryx and sort of infuses them with what we've been doing with things like Savathûn and Callus and like taking all that lessons and saying, okay, we think we can do this the right way.
That means I have to play the raid to get the full story?
No, there is a piece of the story, right, that is told in the raid. There's a piece that's essential. But it is definitely not going to be a moment where only raiders get to see the end of the Light and Darkness saga.
So there we go, guys. Give us your thoughts about that. Another interesting thing, though, related to Final Shape here, and Destiny Bulletin shared a new ad for the Final Shape, where we can hear a mysterious character talking, so check this out.
Take this power, Guardian. Use what is offered to purge the corruption. Be brave in dark places, for we are the light of hope.
Naturally, this is speculation. Could this be a voice for the Traveler? And I guess that seems possible. There are other possibilities as well. But obviously, this is a character that's going to have some influence in the Final Shape story, at least. And so there's a new NPC there. And a final couple of mentions here for the Final Shape, but I hadn't actually noticed this until yesterday by accident. And in some of the press images for the Final Shape, we can actually see one of the new exotic weapons that we've only ever seen concept art for previously. So we can see the Titan holding this trace rifle, and Bungie previously confirmed that they are bringing in a Traveler's Beam trace rifle. So there's going to be a strong thematic tie to the Final Shape and the Pale Heart destination. And again, previously we've only seen concept art for it. We don't know exotic perk names and stuff like that, but this is an in-game render of the weapon, which appears to have sort of a red skin on it, but also it's got this sort of triangular 3D shape, which wasn't really apparent from the original concept art that we saw. So it's a very cool looking weapon nonetheless. I'm certainly excited to see more of it, and as Bungie described, it will fire a beam, which is very similar to the Traveler's Beam that we saw in one of the Lightfall cutscenes. So that's pretty cool. Otherwise though as well, we can see the Warlock right here is actually holding the Kvostov auto rifle. This appears to have a sort of tidied up skin versus the ones we've had previously, whether it was the Rise of Iron version or the white drop that you can get in the new Light campaign. But Bungie had confirmed that Kvostov is returning, so this time, unlike in Lightfall where we kept seeing Kvostov in some of the cutscenes, we are actually getting the weapon. So that's pretty neat, just a quick extra look at a couple of exotic weapons, and give us your thoughts about them down below. For today though guys, that's what we have to speak about in this video, so as always, I hope you've enjoyed it and found it interesting. If you have, a rating below really does help us out, and once again, give us your thoughts in the comment section. But additionally, if you want to be kept up to date with everything related to Destiny 2, get subscribed and turn on the notification bell so I can keep you posted. Otherwise though, I appreciate you tuning in today, and I will catch you guys very soon.